Koji sat in his car. The air was heavy, smelling faintly of coffee and stale sweat. As an architect, working late into the night was his daily routine. Inside the car lay scattered sketches, a half-eaten sandwich, and a pile of unfinished drafts. The message on the screen said, "Where are you?" He sighed and killed the engine. The silence pressed around him like a hand on his chest. When he finally stepped out and walked toward the apartment, the sentence came again, echoing in his skull, the same one his father used to repeat like a commandment: men should take responsibility. Arisa was in the kitchen when he entered, wearing an oversized t-shirt, her hair tied up. The apartment looked like it had survived a small storm. Bottles, blankets, and unopened mail cluttered the tabletop. "You got home late," she said without turning. "Had to finish the plans?" he muttered, setting down his bag. "No," she said, her voice trembling but controlled. "You chose to finish the plans." He rubbed the back of his neck, exhaustion pooling behind his eyes. "You think I have a choice? The project's due. The mortgage won't wait." She turned now, wiping her hands on a towel. "And what about me? I can't remember the last time I slept more than 2 hours. I can't even shower without him crying. You keep hiding at work like you're the only one under pressure." The words hit a nerve. "I'm doing this for us," he snapped. "I'm the one keeping this whole damn thing standing." Her eyes gleamed with tears. "You're killing yourself and losing us in the process." The baby's cries echoed throughout the entire apartment. Arisa brushed past him, shoulders trembling. For weeks, he worked later, stayed longer. Each night, the same routine: laptop, blue light, more emails, vague texts to Arisa. Each morning, he stared into the bathroom mirror, dark circles deepening like cracks in concrete. And then one Friday she said it. "You missed his first laugh." Koji froze in the doorway. "What?" He laughed. "Today. I was going to call you, but you didn't answer. You always don't answer." She looked at him with a face that seemed to have aged 10 years since the baby was born. "If you keep this up, your child won't recognize you when he grows up." He fell silent, guilt clawing at his throat. Later that night, lying next to her sleeping body, he stared at the ceiling, unable to breathe. He thought about the mounting debt, the deadlines, the baby's cry, the way his father had said, "Real men don't cry." And in the darkness, a thought whispered back, "Is this really the life I want?" The breaking point came 2 nights later. A fight, loud, messy. Arisa's voice sharp with exhaustion. Koji's words sharp with pride. "Is your job more important, or is your family more important?" she said, holding the baby close. "Someone has to hold it together," he shouted. "Someone has to make money. If you keep doing this, I want a divorce." Her question lingered like smoke. He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed his car keys, slammed the door, and drove. He wasn't sure where he was going, only that he needed to move. He found an izakaya. 1 beer at dinner had become 3. His head buzzed gently. "I'm fine," he muttered. But his hands trembled on the wheel. Rain slicked the streets. At an intersection, the light flashed yellow, then red. He pressed the accelerator anyway. A blinding pair of headlights cut across his vision. Tires screamed. His car spun, hit the curb, and slammed against the guardrail with a sick metallic crunch. For a moment, everything went silent. His heart hammered ragged. Smoke curled from the hood. Through the cracked windshield he saw the other car skidding to a stop. A man jumped out, shouting, "Are you out of your mind?" Then, seeing Koji's pale face, the anger drained. "You all right?" Koji leaned forward, forehead against the steering wheel. His shoulders shook. Not from pain, from something deeper. If that crash had gone a little differently, if he'd been 2 seconds slower, he wouldn't be here. Arisa would be alone. His son would never know him. A sound escaped his mouth, half laugh, half sob. Koji's breath trembled. For years he had repeated, "Men don't cry." But now the tears spilled freely, hot and unstoppable. He pressed his hand to his eyes, chest heaving. "I can't keep carrying it all." He drove home slowly, the dented bumper rattling. When he reached the apartment building, he sat in the dark for a long moment, the words still echoing, "Don't carry it alone." Then he did something he'd never done before. He opened his phone, typed, "Therapist near me," and called the first number on the list. A calm voice answered. "Newbridge Counseling, how can I help?" Koji's throat tightened again. He almost hung up. He swallowed. "I need an appointment." There was a pause, then the gentle reply. "All right. Let's find a time for you," he whispered. "Thank you." It was the smallest act of courage he'd ever taken, and the hardest. When he got home, Arisa was waiting at the table, pale and alert. "Where were you?" "I had an accident," he said softly. "No one was hurt. But it could have been bad." Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, Koji!" He met her eyes. "I've thought about it for a long time, and you're right. I called a therapist," he said. "I told them I need help." The words hung in the air, invisible and immense. Arisa blinked, unsure if she'd heard right. "Honey, I never realized you were under so much pressure." He nodded. "I can't do this alone anymore." And then she was crying, stepping forward, wrapping her arms around him. For a second, he stood frozen, then something cracked open inside him, and he held her, finally, like a man who had stopped running. The first therapy session wasn't cinematic. It was awkward. He sat stiffly on a couch, staring at a bookshelf while Dr. Lin, a soft-voiced woman in her 50s, said, "Tell me what brought you here." He tried to talk about work deadlines, pressure, forgetting to eat. But halfway through, his voice broke. "I don't know how to stop drowning," he said quietly. Dr. Lin nodded, her tone calm. "That sounds painful, and very lonely." Lonely. The word landed deep. He realized he couldn't remember the last person he'd spoken to honestly about anything beyond blueprints or numbers. She said, "Let's start by making space for how heavy it's been. You don't have to carry everything by yourself." He didn't know how to respond, so he just nodded, eyes wet. It was enough. Weeks passed. Nothing changed dramatically at first. But small shifts began to take root. When his manager tried to assign him another weekend project, Koji said, "I can't take that one right now. My workload's at capacity." The manager blinked. "All right. We'll find someone else." Koji sat afterward, heart pounding, waiting for the universe to collapse. It didn't. At home, he practiced saying smaller truths. One evening, while washing dishes, he told Arisa, "I'm scared I'll fail as a father." She put the sponge down, looked at him for a long moment, then said, "Dear, thank you for turning down that job offer. Let's raise our children together." That night, for the first time in months, they fell asleep holding hands. He began noticing things again, the way the light touched his son's tiny hands, the smell of coffee in the morning, Arisa humming softly in the kitchen. Dr. Lin called these anchors, points of presence. Whenever he found himself slipping into panic, he'd stop and breathe. "I'm here," he'd remind himself. "I'm allowed to ask for help." Sometimes he still came home burnt out, frustrated. But instead of hiding in silence, he'd say, "I need 10 minutes to cool down." And instead of exploding, he'd sit in the bathroom, breathing, hands pressed over his eyes until the storm passed. Arisa noticed. Slowly, the tension between them began to loosen. Months later, his team at work faced a nightmare deadline. Everyone was losing sleep, tempers fraying. A junior architect accidentally deleted hours of work, on the verge of tears. Koji walked over, exhaustion etched on his face but his voice steady. "Hey, we'll fix it." The younger man gave a shaky laugh. "I keep messing up." Koji thought of his old self, the man who would have stayed silent, furious but stoic. Instead, he said, "You're not failing. You're human. Ask for help before you hit burnout." "That's what saved me." The junior blinked. "Saved you?" Koji nodded. "Yeah. I used to think asking for help made me weak. Turns out, it's the only reason I'm still standing." The younger man's shoulders eased. Thanks, Koji. Months became a year. The building Koji had designed, the one that nearly broke him, finally opened. Its clean lines caught sunlight like glass sculpture. People called his work elegant, balanced, alive. When asked to give a short talk at the opening, Koji stood on the podium in a crisp shirt, looking at his team, his wife in the crowd, holding their now toddling son. He didn't read the speech he'd written. Instead, he looked up and said simply, "This building stands because of teamwork, because we helped each other when things got heavy. I used to think strength was silence. But I've learned that asking for help doesn't make you weaker. It makes you real. And real things last." The audience applauded. But Koji's eyes were fixed on Arisa, smiling through tears, and his son clapping his tiny hands. Later that afternoon, they went to a park nearby. Arisa carried the picnic bag. Koji pushed the stroller. The city hummed softly around them, warm and ordinary. Their son toddled around chasing pigeons, squealing with delight. Arisa laughed. Koji breathed deeply, the ache in his chest replaced by something lighter. She looked at him. "You're different," she said. "Still tired," he joked, smiling softly. "But different, yeah." Koji looks at Arisa. "You know something funny? My dad used to say, men should take responsibility. I used to think that meant carrying alone. And now?" she asked. "Now I think being a man means knowing when it's too heavy, and asking someone to lift with you." Arisa touched his arm. "That's real strength." Koji watched their son run toward him, arms open, and bent down to catch him. The little boy's laughter filled the air, bright, unfiltered, alive. As Koji held him close, sunlight glinting off the nearby buildings, something deep and quiet settled inside him. He wasn't the man who drowned in silence anymore. He wasn't the man who measured strength by how long he could hold his breath. He was the man who had finally learned to breathe. That night, after putting their son to bed, Koji stood on the balcony. The city lights shimmered below. The same railings, the same traffic, but the weight inside him was different now. Koji closed his eyes, let himself feel it, everything: fear, love, gratitude, the quiet courage of continuing. For years, he believed men weren't allowed to fall. Now he knew, the bravest ones were those who reached for a hand before they hit the ground. He whispered, almost to himself, "Asking for help isn't weakness. It's the switch that turns strength back on." Below them, the city kept breathing, millions of lights, millions of people carrying their invisible loads. But in one small apartment on the 5th floor, a man had finally put his down. And for the first time in a very long time, he felt light enough to hold someone else's hand.
If you enjoyed this story, please share it with others and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your time.